Every neighborhood has a heartbeat, a place that represents the cultural epicenter of the area at its core. In Boston's historic North End, that place is Boston Barber and Tattoo Company. Boston Barber and Tattoo Company has become home to A-list Boston celebrities like Gordon Hayward, Milan Lucic, Brad Marchand, and Aaron Baines. Boston Barber and Tattoo is more than just Boston's most well-known corner barbershop. It's also a tourist attraction for the hundreds and thousands of people that visit the North End throughout the year. Boston Barber and Tattoo, a North End landmark that represents the cultural epicenter of the area at its core, located at 113 Salem Street.
Welcome to another edition of Good and Plenty, NBA edition, and glad to have you. The NBA upon us here tonight. Finally, a long offseason is finally over, and we got a great show for you today. We're going to do it a little bit different. Me and my co-host, Evan Valenti, we're going to go through 8 topics that we're passionate about, spend about 4 or 5 minutes. Evan's going to start the clock, and we're going to run through them. But before we do, please subscribe. Again, iTunes, Stitcher, CLNS Media. You can follow me at Goodman Hoops on Twitter. I'm also at Stadium. That's watchstadium.com. And today's show brought to you by LinkedIn. Hurry now to linkedin.com/good. Get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/good. Get $50 off your first job post. Evan? You want to start this thing off, or do you want me?
I'm going to start the clock, and when I start the clock, you're gonna throw the first topic out there. We're doing 8 topics.
I'm gonna throw a
4
haymaker.
to 5 minutes apiece.
I'm gonna throw a haymaker to start this thing.
I'm ready. I'm going to start the clock in 3, 2, 1. We're starting.
The Golden State Warriors are not going to three-peat. They're not going to win the NBA title this year, and it's going to be because of injury. More than anything else, it's injury that they've stayed healthy the last year or two here. And I think Kevin Durant and Steph Curry have had their injury issues. You got Boogie Cousins coming back from an Achilles. They don't need him. We know that. But I think the injury bug is going to hit Golden State, and I think the Boston Celtics are going to win it all. And I'm not saying that because I'm a homer, because if people followed me closely, they would know I ripped on Rondo. I killed Rondo. I was not a big Paul Pierce guy until Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen joined the Celtics. But I love this Celtics team, and the biggest thing for me, Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens, what he's done the last 2 years. 2 years ago, getting them, to the conference finals with a patchwork ho-hum. When we look back at that roster, we're going to laugh. And last year, to get him within one game of going to the NBA Finals without Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, miraculous. So I'm saying Brad Stevens is going to put him over the top, but they're going to need some help, and that's going to be a Golden State injury.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm totally aboard with this, only because your stipulation of it being an injury, being related to that I can get behind. We credit Brad Stevens, rightly so. We credit a lot of the guys in the Celtics staff, rightly so. But it's hard when you get to the NBA Finals, it is a different animal. And the only guy with NBA Finals experience in that roster is Kyrie Irving. And he's going to be the only guy they can really lean on for experience in this way. Now, again, I know Brad is great, but when you get to the NBA Finals, things are different. Life is different as a coach.
They got the right personalities, Evan. They just got the right guys.
They don't
get
depth.
rattled.
Well, I'll give you the depth. Now, that's how they'll beat Golden State. Golden State has better top-end talent than Boston does. But Boston's going to be able to go 11 deep, 10 deep, 9 deep in playoff, series and be able to outplay you that way. And they're going to be able to keep guys like Kyrie fresh and Gordon fresh. And it really depends on, the leaps that the guys make in year 2, year 3, year 4 here with Rozier and with Brown and with Tatum. I'm not saying this is ridiculous, but it's hard to pick against. It's like picking against LeBron. It was hard to do that. And then all of a sudden now LeBron's out west, and now somebody else has to take that mantle. Somebody has to knock off Golden State before I pick against them. I just can't do it yet.
Listen, the only thing I'll say, even the starting 5, all right, Let's look at it. If Boogie doesn't come back completely healthy, which we're not sure he will, an Achilles injury is major league here. I mean, big time, serious. We don't know if he's going to come back. So, obviously, we know KD is better than Tatum. We know that.
Yes.
We got it. Okay, we got that part. Draymond, better than Horford, but not a ton. Not a ton. Steph's better than Kyrie, not a ton. Clay's a little better than Gordon Hayward, not a ton. And then, like you said, the bench. The bench makes up for all those kind of minimal, KD to Tatum's not minimal. But all the other ones I think are fairly minimal in a sense. And again, I think Brad's the better coach. I do. I think he's a better coach. They have the depth. And again, I'm banking on an injury here. I am banking on an injury. I'm not saying if Golden State's full strength and Boogie's 100% or close to it, yeah, I don't think the Celtics will beat them. Not that they can't beat them. I don't think they will beat them.
The C's are going to have to bank on getting home court then. I mean, they really are going to have to sell out to win as many games as
they're going to be
possible.
hungry. They should get home court. They should get home court.
There's just zero way they walk into Oracle and find a way to win. I mean, it's really tough to beat Golden State in 7 games. And to do it in their arena is going to be really tough. Now, Boston, again, they play Golden State as tough as anybody. Ask anybody how it goes. They are they execute well in the fourth quarter. They play well defensively. That's how they wear down Golden State. They really don't let mistakes bother them too much. So I get that. I'm not quite there. Somebody has to knock them off first, and maybe it's Boston this year. But that group of guys is just really difficult to beat. I mean, again, you have several Hall of Famers on there. It's difficult.
All right, let's keep it going.
Yeah, we're going to end this one 17 seconds early. We'll get to the clock going again here. My big hot take is I still think that there is some way Jimmy Butler ends up in Houston. And here's my hot take for you. If Jimmy Butler ends up in Houston, the Houston Rockets will represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. I think Houston was so close last year to really making this a real thing. They lost Chris Paul, and if they didn't lose Chris Paul in that series, I do think they win, and I do think they go to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, Chris Paul gets hurt. So what happens in the offseason? Well, they've had a couple of things get mixed around. They lose out on 2 key guys. They lose Trevor Ariza, and they lose Mbah a Moute, which doesn't seem like a lot to some people, but when you talk about switching in defense, what they were able to do to Golden State in the finals, those 2 guys were instrumental. I don't think Houston has enough this year with the way they are currently constituted. Bringing in Carmelo Anthony, frankly, just isn't enough. If he is anything like he was in New York, still isn't going to matter. I love Eric Gordon. I love PJ Tucker. I love James Ennis. I like all these guys, but the top-end talent just frankly isn't there. If they find a way to get Jimmy Butler, they're going to have to sacrifice Eric Gordon to get him at least. But if they can get Jimmy Butler, a lineup of James Harden, Chris Paul, and Jimmy Butler going up against those guys in Golden State will give them problems. Absolutely.
Man, those personalities, I can only imagine what that locker room would be like with Chris Paul, Jimmy Butler, and James Harden. Like, poor Mike D'Antoni. Like, he might as well retire after a year because he will go out of his mind. I mean, this whole Jimmy Butler, I won't spend a minute or two on it, but, this whole Jimmy Butler situation is crazy to me. I've known Jimmy forever, and I talked to somebody close to him the other day, and they said, the latest practice was a little bit better, that really most of the veterans, almost all the veterans, are siding with Jimmy Butler in this whole deal because they realize he's brought them victories. They realize how good they were earlier last year before he went down with the injury. They were like 3rd or 4th in the Western Conference. The problem with Jimmy Butler here is he's seeing Andrew Wiggins get paid and really doing nothing, and he's pissed off about it. He's seeing that.
I don't blame him, though. That's the thing about Jimmy. He's not really wrong here. Like, he should be upset that these certain guys that are supposed to help him out, aren't helping him out right now. Like, he's supposed to come in, and there's supposed to be this new wave of new blood with Karl Anthony Towns, who is as gifted as any big guy in the league, and Andrew Wiggins. They're supposed to be, and they're not. And as crazy as what Jimmy did, it's hard to say he's wrong there.
I think he's wrong how he handled it. I just
absolutely.
I'm not a fan of how he handled this whole thing. I love how hard he plays on the court, but I just don't think that's the way you go about it. And now you're just honestly, you're having more teams around the league wonder whether they should even roll the dice for you.
I think Daryl rolls the dice. I think Daryl understands, trying to keep his name and his team involved in the higher echelon of the Western Conference. And, the one thing I'll tell you, and I know, personalities will matter here. Chris Paul is an alpha dog, man. He does not take any crap from anybody.
Well, he works.
He works really hard,
yep.
And that's what Jimmy's looking for. Jimmy's looking for a guy that works hard. And when Harden has the right mindset, he works like a maniac, right? So you have a couple of guys that are workhorse animals, and if they can get even Carmelo a little bit to kind of side with them, I do think it's a positive thing. I do think Daryl thought about this. He's probably trying to work his magic to make this happen. And if they were to pull this off, you look at the Western Conference, I know it's stacked, but they have a clear-cut, really excellent team in terms of the starting five or crunch time five guys you want on the floor when the game's on the line. To have three guys of Harden, CP3, and Jimmy,
sure.
Those guys are going to get done late. They will.
No, listen, there's no doubt about it. And then James Harden can go back to his playing no defense because he's got two guys around him, and Chris Paul and Jimmy Butler who do. But, Jimmy Butler knows he's got to get paid now. He's got to get paid. He's 29 years old. That's what's been lost in all this. 29, he knows he's got to get paid. And right now he's looking at these other guys and saying, why the hell are they getting paid? I'm the one who made this team better. Everybody knows that. So he's going at Wiggins. I think it's more Wiggins than Towns from what I'm told. I think Towns and Jimmy actually get along, and there's a level of respect there. But I think Andrew Wiggins has always been a dilemma for me.
That's our timer, buddy.
That's our timer. Nice. I was wondering. I'm looking at my phone saying, what the hell just went on? All right.
I got it. I got it all locked in. So timer starts now. 5 minutes.
All right, we're going to move on. And I'm going to say Lonzo Ball will establish himself this year along with LeBron James. Those two will play well together. And, again, I've made it no secret that I think the Lakers are going to be maybe the fourth best team in the NBA this year and the second best team in the West. I don't think Houston does make a trade. I think people are underrating Lonzo. I think it's going to take some time, but they've worked with him to tinker with his shot a little bit, and he's been out for a while, so you're not going to be able to evaluate him early, which doesn't matter. You can play Rondo early. That's fine. But when it matters, I think Lonzo Ball is clearly the superior player on both ends of the court right now to Rondo. And the one thing he does, it's not about the glitz and the flash on the court for Lonzo. He's going to move the basketball, and LeBron has never played with a guy like Lonzo. The ball is going to move. Now, again, at the end of the game, it's going to stick in LeBron's hands, and he's going to make plays. And then what's Lonzo going to do? He's going to have to make shots. But I think Lonzo right now is incredibly, incredibly underrated. Partially because he's been hurt, partially because he hasn't had good enough players around him. He needs shooters. And they'll have enough shooters now. I mean, not great shooters, but they certainly improved in that role from last year.
I don't know if I make them second in the Western Conference. I'm not quite there yet. I am rooting for Lonzo, though. I do want to make a point that I enjoyed watching him at UCLA. And even though he went to a team that I'm not supposed to really like, I do like Lonzo a bit. I think his game is unbelievable. Again, the guy sees the floor like not a lot of other people do in the NBA. And what's great is he's going to be with two guys that also have really super high IQs with Rondo and with LeBron. So he's going to be in a good spot for his development, I think. So I kind of agree with you on maybe buying some Lonzo stock, being in the right environment for him. My one problem with the Lakers actually is so what the hell is this team going to do? What does this team look like? I mean, I'm a big Brandon Ingram guy. I am curious to see what he looks like in year 3 here. He has to make some sort of mini leap in order for them to really contend. I'm not a huge fan of McGee at center. I'm not sure what they're going to do as for bigs as the season moves along here. But I do like some of the playmaking on that team. It's just kind of a weird team. I get what they're trying to do. I just don't think that it's going to happen that way when the game really matters. And there's going to be some feeling out process here with this team. They're not going to, just take off and be incredible.
No.
They're going to probably struggle for a little bit, and people are going to have to be okay with that. This is going to be a team that maybe gets hot in the second half and starts jumping to the rankings that way. They're not going to fly out of the gates, playing really well. I mean, LeBron's always a tough guy to sort of get acclimated to. Nobody's played with him before on these teams, really, so it is going to be difficult. But again, the Lonzo thing, I'm with you. How far the Lakers go, we disagree.
Well, I think, like you said, I think the key is going to be guys making shots. The Brandon Ingrams, the Kentavious Caldwell-Popes. Does Kyle Kuzma make a jump, or did he read it into his headlines last year? Did he work as hard as he should have this past offseason? Because that's going to be key. Came to him out of nowhere. Let's face it. No, he didn't think it was happening. Nobody thought it was happening for Kyle Kuzma last year. So if he doesn't play hard and play well, there's guys on the bench that will. There's veterans. You'll see a Lance Stevenson. You'll see a Michael Beasley. Rondo could take Lonzo's minutes, again, like we said earlier. But I just think this team's got enough pieces. And I actually think the more I think about it, I think Luke Walton's the right guy for this job. Because I think he doesn't need, and he's got no ego. He doesn't care. He knows how to deal with people. And that's the biggest thing you got to deal with LeBron and Rondo, especially. They got to respect you. Luke Walton's got a high basketball IQ. He always has. And again, I think he'll know what buttons to push with these guys.
I'm curious to see if LeVar becomes a problem here. Because, you got a lot of big personalities in there. Between LeBron, you have Lance, you have Rondo. There's a lot of big personalities in that locker room.
If they don't win early, Evan, if they don't win early, him. He can't shut the hell up. No. So he'll say something early. The good thing is pretty much all of the media companies, everybody, has kind of ignored him. He's been irrelevant, to be honest, since Lithuania to some degree. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, we have our next timer here, so we're moving on. My second one sort of kind of puts away this is why I can't get on the Lakers. I just don't like their continuity. I like teams to make big jumps. I need them to be a team that's played together and played well together. I think the Utah Jazz finish in the Western Conference as the top 3 seed in the conference. Ooh. Because I really like the way this team's put together. They know what they're good at. They know they're a defensive team. They know they're going to thrive at the end of the floor. Rudy Gobert paces them on that end. They have Donovan Mitchell, who I think is going to take another jump this year. Hopefully we don't see any regression there. Hopefully he stays healthy the whole year. I love everything he brings to the table. His personality, the way he can make plays defensively and offensively. He's a good shooter. He attacks the basket. Ricky Rubio, let's see what happens and see if he's healthy or not. Always a big question with Rubio. I love Joe Ingles. I love Jay Crowder. I even love some of the guys bring off the bench. And we have never really seen anything out of Dante Exum ever. So, he's a huge X factor here for me. I don't know what he is. He was drafted that year, got hurt his first year in the league, had flashes, has shown flashes internationally of something very interesting. Had points last year where he was very interesting. They can bring Thabo Sefolosha off the bench. They drafted Grayson Allen.
That's why
this team is.
That's why you like him. Admit it.
What,
you
Grayson
like
Allen?
Grayson Allen.
I'm not a big Grayson Allen guy. I was not.
He's a piece. He's just a piece. Listen, they need Donovan Mitchell to make a big jump again, and it's like, to me, it's like, how does this kid do better than what he did a year ago? Rudy Gobert he's great defensively, and Rubio is a great passer, but I just don't know. Listen.
So the other teams in that range, like who do you have in that 3, 4, 5 range? And tell me why the Jazz aren't better than them. Like you look at some of the teams in that range, you have Houston if they make a trade. If they don't, I think they're still better. Right. But you have like Portland there, Oklahoma's there, Denver's there.
Right, I got Houston and the Lakers ahead of so I got Golden State, Houston, Lakers, obviously as the top 3. I would put the Lakers ahead of Houston at the end of the day. And then, I can buy that they're going to be in the mix for like the 4th spot, especially because, now again, Minnesota's a disaster right now. Oklahoma City, Westbrook's already hurt. Portland, I don't think they got any better up front. So San Antonio got way worse this year. So, yeah, I guess I can see what you're saying, that by default, and that's why a lot of people, I think, like Denver this year, is kind of by default, right? Denver's got some of these young pieces. You can almost make a case that Denver as a whole is maybe more talented than Utah. I don't think that's the case yet. I mean, listen, if Michael Porter Jr. somehow miraculously gets 100%, I love Denver. I mean, I've said it. I think Michael Porter Jr. is like 100%. He's the number one pick for me, and I think he could be a superstar in the NBA one day. Yeah, I mean, listen, I can buy Utah as a 4 seed, I guess. I don't have a lot of confidence in them that they're going to get much better.
I think Quinn Snyder is a terrific coach.
Yes.
I think he's a terrific coach, and I think that does matter. I think they have a home court advantage. I think they know they play good defense. They know that's how they're going to win games. They'll rely on that, and they will grind it down and win late in games with good defense.
You're going to take a Utah team over a Lakers team in like a playoff series?
In the regular season. It's not the postseason. It's a different animal in the postseason when you have to face LeBron and stop LeBron all the time. It's a different animal. In the regular season, I think, again, it will take some time for LA to figure out who they are. I don't like the rest of the West in terms of high-end talent. Again, Denver's interesting. Portland, I think, is going to fall back. San Antonio, the wheels fell off, all that stuff. So I think, again, out of necessity and out of just, somebody's got to win some of these games, I think Utah's going to win a lot of games. And I really do think that their continuity, having a good season under their belt, going to the playoffs, having some success, is going to help them. And, again, with Quinn Snyder there, you have the right guy pushing all the right buttons.
And you know what? Listen, I'll give you this. That I think Donovan Mitchell is a great team guy. Rudy Gobert is a great team guy. Ricky Rubio is a great team guy. And then you look at like some of the other teams, Oklahoma City, and you say to yourself, like, just, again, Westbrook's already hurt. They add Dennis Schroeder.
Roberson?
Yeah,
if Roberson can't play,
right,
then that's a big defensive piece they're going to miss.
Well, and you added Schroeder and Nerlens Noel, two guys that have plenty of red flags around both of them. So, yeah, I guess I can get around Utah as a 4. I'm not sure I'd go as high as a 3, but I'll be okay with 4 or 5 matchup. I think Utah is fine there. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn. The right hire can make a huge impact on your business. That's why it's so important to find the right person. But where do you find that individual? You could try posting on the job boards, but can you really be sure the right person sees your job? Instead, find the person who will help you grow your business with LinkedIn. As the world's largest professional network, people go to LinkedIn every day to grow professionally and discover job opportunities. 70% of the U.S. workforce is already there. So why not bring your job post to them? Seems like a no-brainer, right? LinkedIn Jobs matches people to your role based on more of who they really are, their skills, interests, and even how open they are to new opportunities. This way, your job gets seen by more of the right people. Hiring the right people can feel impossible. Ask anyone who runs a company how hard it is to find good help grow your business. And nobody's more fit to help you than LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been helping people make connections for years. Now LinkedIn wants to flip the script, so to speak. So hurry now to linkedin.com/good and get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/good and get $50 off your first job post. LinkedIn.com/good. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, you're up, buddy.
This will be Anthony Davis's last season in New Orleans.
Wow.
I said this a while ago.
Really going on a limb there, buddy.
Well, listen, I said it before he signed with Rich Paul. I really think there's a chance he could be traded at the All-Star break because I think New Orleans takes a step backward. They overachieved to some degree last year by sweeping Portland. So everybody got all excited, and all the New Orleans fans are thinking, all right, like, now we got AD here forever. We won a playoff series, so AD is staying forever. No. That might have been the worst thing that happened, is expectations being high, because if they get off to a bad start this year, or Anthony Davis gets hurt, or somebody else, Drew Holiday gets hurt, they're in trouble. Now, again, the good thing is the West is a little bit weaker this year, so they should get back to the playoffs. But if they don't, or if they're really struggling, I think it'll go through the year. I really do. I think it'll go through the year, and then Rich Paul, who's now Anthony Davis's agent, who also reps LeBron, I think then he'll make some sort of trade demand or something. for Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis is probably too nice a kid to do it on his own. But now he's got a guy who will push all the buttons for him and get him to L.A. if he can.
So L.A. is just the obvious destination here. We're just going to all say L.A. I mean, it's just it looks like it, right?
Yeah,
it just looks too easy.
It's too easy. Where it's funny. Months ago, you thought like, all right, what could the Celtics do to put together to try to get Anthony Davis? And they could still try. I mean, they could still try. But I think any team now is going to be overly concerned about the fact that Anthony Davis wants. And his agent is going to want him in L.A. with his agent's good friend and client.
Right. I don't know. I mean, Boston has the most enticing package out of anybody to make that move. I don't think they will go as deep as some people. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how far do you go if you're Boston there? Do you put? I mean, you got to put at probably one of. I mean, Jaylen Brown's got to go, and because I don't think Danny's giving up Tatum.
No. I mean, although maybe you do. I mean, again, listen, would you do it if you're Boston? Would you give up like Horford and Tatum? I don't know if the numbers exactly match there, but probably pretty close.
The contracts will work, I think, a little bit because AD and Horford are similar. I think you'd be okay.
Yeah, so you'd be okay. Would you do that? Would you do Al Horford and Tatum for Anthony Davis?
Wow. Man, Anthony Davis is really, really good. And, Jason, the only thing you'd have to, the argument for not doing that is if you value Jason Tatum on a team-friendly deal and want that, and you want to go through him with that.
Can you afford, and then could you even afford Jalen? Because you'd have Kyrie, Hayward, and Anthony Davis. And Jalen's going to come up.
Everybody says this all the time. You want Anthony Davis over not having Anthony Davis, so probably in the end, you'd be okay with it, but Tatum is a really tough pill to swallow. But that is the ultimate chip, right? Nobody can offer a chip like Jason Tatum. That's probably the chip worth the most for anybody.
I would do Horford, Jaylen Brown, and a first-round pick or two. I mean, you probably get one this year out of like the Memphis Clippers.
They have that Sacramento pick too.
Yeah, I don't think I'd give up the Sacramento pick. I try not to. Let's put it that way. I would try not to. But if it were, would you do Horford, Jalen, and that Sacramento pick for Anthony Davis?
It's hard. Probably, yeah. Because it's Anthony Davis, and I got to keep Tatum.
Right.
But I also think Hayward, that they like this. Yeah. I think they like this team. I think Danny and Wick.
Well, you got to see what
Steve,
they do. Sure.
And Brad.
I mean, you like him today. You'd like him today, but you have a year to determine whether you think this team could grow into one that could beat Golden State in the next year or two. So that would be the way you'd have to look at it. But I do.
It's just Boston and L.A., right? There's nobody else.
I mean,
nobody else jumps off the page.
No, nobody else jumps off the page. Nobody else. Again, could you put them? Yeah, that's it.
Can't get him to New York, right? New York's probably out.
Well, why would you? I mean, if you're
because KD might be there.
Why? Why would KD go to New York? Like
that's what everybody's talking about. I don't know, Jeff. I don't know anything, but everybody's talking about it, so there's got to be something to it, right?
I don't think KD goes to New York. I really don't. I think he stays in Golden State. To me, and if you're Anthony Davis. You've done enough mediocrity and losing, and by the way, you won a national title at Kentucky, so you know what it's like to win. You want to win. You're not going to New York. You're going to one of the elite teams, and where you have a chance to win it all in a big media market too.
Right. All right. My third one is going to the Eastern Conference now. We haven't done too many Eastern Conference ones because the East is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But that being said. It would not shock me if things didn't go totally well in Toronto if the Bucks ended up with the second seed in the Eastern Conference.
Ooh.
I am all over this Bucks team. I think Giannis is going to have a huge year. I was thoroughly impressed with Chris Middleton in the playoffs. I got to tell you, he shot the lights out against Boston, and he terrified me more than any other player. Even with Giannis on the floor, like he terrified
me. You know who terrifies me from Milwaukee? Eric Bledsoe. Yeah, terrifies me. And that's why I'll never say I have any sort of confidence in the Milwaukee Bucks until they find a point guard who you can trust.
I think that the real point guard on that team is going to be Giannis. I think they'll figure out that Giannis with like Middleton, Brogdon, we'll see what happens with maybe it's Dellavedova, maybe it's maybe Dante DiVincenzo is really great. I mean, I don't know, probably not.
Not a point guard.
But no, you don't need to be a point guard. You need to shoot the ball.
He
need guys around Giannis.
He eventually can do that, but they don't have enough right now. I don't think they got any better. I really don't. I don't think they got any better. And I just looked at him and I was like, I felt bad for Giannis in the playoffs last year. I did. I felt bad. I was like, this dude doesn't have enough. If he had one more piece, I think they'd have a chance. And really, it is a high-level point guard. Like, swap them Bledsoe for Rozier, and I'd be like, all right, they got a chance. Not that I think, like, Terry's the end-all, be-all, but he's better than Bledsoe, as he proved in the series.
Yeah, it went right at him. Went right after him. But, I mean, again, I do think that you bring in Coach Buds, change just a couple of things up, change their style and their pace of play. They go from the slowest team in the league to probably one of the fastest. They're going to shoot more threes. They're going to have a way more open concept. And, I think it's worth a couple of wins. And again, this is if things don't totally go well in Toronto. I mean, it might not. We don't know. We'll see. New coach, Kawhi, no DeRozan.
How many starters? Here's my question to you. How many legitimate NBA starters for a playoff team does Milwaukee have on their roster? Tell me. I got two.
I would say
I got
2 or 3. Yeah, 2 or 3.
Who else? Who's the third?
Well, we'll see. We'll see with Malcolm Brogdon. I'm not giving up on Malcolm Brogdon.
He's a good piece. Again, he's a
I'm
good
not
guy
giving
coming
up yet.
The bench. He's
Rookie of the year, man. Come on now.
In one of the worst rookie classes
it was
ever.
Awful. It was the worst. But I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on my president yet.
You're excited that they added Brook Lopez, aren't you? You think he's the difference maker?
I'm excited about a couple of things. I'm just excited they're going to have a functioning body on the sidelines now. Not to like diss Joe Prunty and Jason Kidd, but they will have a legitimate guy on the sidelines, man. I swear. Again, Joe Prunty, fine. The fact that he kept his team in it against Brad Stevens,
he did
was tough.
He was actually overmatched, even though they didn't,
He was completely overmatched, absolutely.
To me, again, I just think the problem with Milwaukee is you're stuck in mediocrity now. It's like the worst place to be where they are. They're stuck in mediocrity. Nobody's going to want to come to Milwaukee as a free agent. So, how long you got? The window with Giannis is small. You got to try to take advantage of it in the next couple of years. And, how can you? You just can't. There's nothing you can do right now to try to add an impact guy that's going to make a difference for Milwaukee.
Yeah, and they don't have a lot of money left over, and the trade market, who the hell are they going to trade for? They don't have any really attractive things.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have enough. So I see what you're saying. It's easy to get excited about Giannis, but it's really hard to get excited about the rest of that roster, other than my guy Pat Connaughton. Shout out to Pat Connaughton.
There you go. Yeah, knockdown shooter, Pat Connaughton.
Knockdown shooter, and if he ever went to baseball, I think he'd be. He
was in the Orioles system for a while, wasn't he?
He was drafted. He would have been drafted. I think he was drafted in the second round. He would have been a first rounder if he had committed to playing baseball, but never really did it. Anyway, all right. I haven't heard
Moving on.
The bell ring. Did we miss it?
You got 30 seconds if you want to wrap this up.
No, we're gonna move on. We're gonna keep this thing moving, and we're gonna go with who's the favorite. And we got the new NBA lottery system, but because I do a lot of college too, we're going to go with who's the worst team in the NBA right now. Who is the worst team? Who's the favorite to be in that bottom 3 this year? And I'll give you 3 teams that I think will be there. I think
Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta has to be.
Atlanta 3 times.
And I feel bad. Trae Young's going to get some numbers. People are going to be excited. They're going to lose by 100. In a lot of games. Now, the good thing is there's other bad teams, so they'll have a chance against some of these. I mean, listen, to me, I think Sacramento is obviously still not great, but they have more talent than people think now. De'Aaron Fox and Bagley's good, and Harry Giles, if he's somehow healthy. That's my favorite story of the season. I got to tell you. It's my favorite story of the season if Harry Giles has a good year, because people haven't seen this kid like I have back when he was 15 years old. This guy would have been like an Alonzo Mourning, Chris Webber-ish. I don't even know how to describe him, but he was so athletic. He's like the best kid in the world. He's chiseled. He plays hard. He dunks on you. He had an improving perimeter game. Man, I hope this kid. I'm going to look at Sacramento box scores every game, every single game, because I want to see if this kid can get back to what he was. Because if he can, it'll be a hell of a story. And I got to admit, I'm pulling for Harry Giles more than I'm pulling for any guy in the NBA this year.
Yeah, we all should. I mean, he's come a long way for sure. He was doing well in the preseason or in summer league, so that was really exciting. I'm with you on the lock on the Atlanta Hawks going to be really bad. I think that the Sacramento Kings are also going to be really bad. There are a couple other ones that are tough. It depends on what happens with Memphis' health. They could be pretty bad.
Yep, good call.
Depends. I think the Magic could be right there. Although the Magic have a really weird, interesting team.
It should be better.
I'm just not. They'll be better, but I'm just not quite sure if this is what this is what this is going to look like. I'm not sure how they're going to play guys. They don't really have a point guard. They have Jaren Grant on their depth chart as their backup point guard. That's not going to really go too well. I'm really interested to see what the Isaac Bamba, Aaron Gordon thing looks like. Whatever the hell that's going to be. That's going to be fascinating. I'm not totally sold on the Bulls being really great. I think they have really great individual talent. I love Wendell Carter.
Hurt already.
I love Mark. Is he really?
Yeah, he's
that
already
didn't take
out.
too long.
I was there the other day, and he's got a big contraption on his arm. I think he hurt his elbow, or I think it was his elbow. He hyperextended it. He's out for a month. So
yeah,
So
did he get punched by Bobby Portis or no?
No, Bobby was good. Bobby came over. Bobby was in his best behavior when I saw him in practice. That's like a college team.
Is Bobby Portis that intense all the time, or is it just on game days?
No,
because he looks like Kevin
kid.
Garnett.
I know.
His eyes are bugging out of his head. He looks like he's insane.
Bobby still remembers. I'm the first one to put him in the lottery in a mock draft. He'll tell you.
Oh, he will.
Yes.
That's cool.
Brooklyn Nets. Don't count them out. Don't count them out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
But
they play super hard.
They do.
If you watch Brooklyn Nets games, they play really hard. They have some interesting guys in that team. I've always been a Rondé Hollis Jefferson defender.
Yeah.
I like Jared Allen. And I do like D'Angelo Russell. He can't get out of his own way, but I do think there's a good basketball player in there somewhere.
And Spencer Dinwiddie had a great year last year. So, they've got some talent, but I think the Nets, overachieved last year, and I could see them kind of coming back down to earth per, their talent level this year. So, there'll be some teams in there. But, I'm in Vegas right now, sitting in the Cosmopolitan Hotel as we're doing this right now.
Nice.
There's a secret pizza place in the Cosmopolitan. It's not listed. So the Cosmopolitan, I stay here every time because it's a Marriott, and it's really good. Really good. It's good because it's not one of those huge casinos. It doesn't look like a Marriott at all. It's got all the tables and everything, but it's not huge, so you can get around pretty easy. And they got some good stuff, good restaurants and everything like that. This is actually where I have my little run-in with DeMarcus Cousins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, SDK.
The famed one with Chris Haynes is talking about.
Yes. So every time I ran by to get 3 slices of pizza before we started this, and it's a pizza place that's not even located on the chart. You know how they give you, every hotel gives you kind of a layout of the whole hotel. I don't even think it's not listed. There's no name.
So how do we get it?
You can't. You got to know somebody.
You got to know, Jeff. You can't be throwing out secret pizza places on the podcast, not tell the people how to get there.
It's on the third floor. It's on the third floor. That's all I can tell you. Honestly,
on the third floor. Okay, that's good enough. That'll be good enough. People,
they might kill me.
They can connect their own dots. You're just gonna give them a little clue.
I mean, just if I see people walking around aimlessly, I'll tell them where the pizza place is. But
there
the
you go.
Pizza was good. I just had 3 slices. I'm gonna go down after and play some blackjack a little bit here and.
Oh, nice.
No, it's a great spot. If you can go to the Cosmo, go to the Cosmo.
All right. I stopped the clock because I wanted you to do your secret pizza rant.
All right.
And I'm going to change the last one on you because that's how we roll on this show.
What do you got?
We were going to do our first coach fired. I think it's going to be Dave Yeager, so I'm just going to end it right there. But the question I think we need to ask ourselves, because I can't believe we haven't talked about them yet, but the question we need to ask ourselves, and it's definitely one that a lot of people are asking, what is next for the process? Where are we?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Brett Brown talked about it yesterday. Markelle Fultz is going to start
Crazy.
against Boston tonight instead of J.J. Redick. I don't know what that's. I don't know what that's going to. I'm rooting for Markelle. Like, trust me, I'm rooting for Markelle Fultz.
It's confidence, and it's actually not the dumbest thing. Like, J.J. Redick's fine, whether he's coming off the bench or starting. This isn't going to affect him.
He's good.
It's not going to affect him at all. But you know what it could do? It could give Markelle confidence, the confidence he sorely needs. He could say it all he wants. I sat down with him for 10 minutes on media day, and he was saying how he's feeling fine. But again, if you watch his shot, it's not what it was. It's a push shot. He doesn't get much elevation. It doesn't look like it did a couple of years ago when he was healthy. So I don't know what they do with him, but to me, it's twofold, right? Like, you obviously want Markelle Fultz to be what you thought he was going to be when you took him number one. But at worst case scenario, can you get him back to where he's got some trade value too? Because right now you can't even throw him in a trade. Nobody will take him. Nobody.
This whole season relies on a couple things. It relies a little bit on Markelle, not really a ton. I mean, he's a difference between them being really good and great potentially.
Yeah.
But that team is really all about two guys, Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. And for Embiid, it's can he stay healthy? How's his conditioning? Is he going to be in shape? Because at the end of last year, when he played Boston, he was out of shape. I'm not sure if he'll tell you that, but it looked like it on the floor.
Well, he got tired defensively. He got tired. I don't know if he was out of shape, but I just think he got so tired at times. And maybe it is that he hadn't played back-to-backs enough. He told me he could have played more games last year.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing for me is, like, are Simmons and Embiid going to play together? Like, Chris Paul and James Harden figured it out quickly how to play together. And obviously they're older, they're more mature. But if Simmons and Embiid can figure out how to make each other better, then I think they take the next level. And if they can push each other, and one of the knocks I've heard on Ben Simmons over the years has been, it's come so easy to him. He doesn't work as hard as he could or should off the court. And last year probably didn't change that. I mean, other than making shots from the perimeter, which he showed he didn't even have to do. One Rookie of the Year without being able to make a shot from the perimeter. I want to see him shoot the friggin' basketball. Shoot the ball, Ben. Like, if you go and you miss threes, I don't care. But the only way you're going to get better and the only way your team's going to get significantly better is if you just start shooting in the regular season, figure it out, and it's going to take time. Just like Lonzo Ball. It's going to take time. Lonzo isn't afraid to shoot it. Ben Simmons, you watch him in practice, and he'll take him. So take him in the game, and eventually you'll get better if you work at it.
Is there a way that the Sixers finish for the 2 seed above Toronto?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah?
Hell yeah. I think they could. I think it's wide open. I think the Celtics are going to be the team to beat, and they're going to maybe not run away with it, but I think they're clearly the team to beat in the East. After that, it gets interesting. I mean, it really does get interesting between Toronto, between Philly. I think Washington's an interesting team now. At least they're not going to,
They're interesting because they have a lot of characters on that team.
A lot.
They have a ton of character on that team.
How about Bradley Beal saying he was like 20 pounds overweight because? Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw something like this. Yeah,
because his girlfriend or wife or somebody was expecting a baby, so he put on the weight or something. I don't know.
That sounds like a really bad excuse, Bradley Beal.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
Really weird, but
I think John Wall absorbed it though. John Wall took that 20 pounds and put it on himself. It's a real teammate right there.
How about the first fight between? It's probably already happened. Dwight Howard and Markieff Morris had to have happened. Happened.
That's probably why Howard's hurt. He got his ass kicked
already. He said something stupid.
I would not fool around with the Morris twins.
No.
I'll tell you that right now.
We should do that.
You didn't want any of their smoke in Kansas. Never mind in the NBA.
In our next podcast we do together, whether it's next week or the week after that we do this.
Yeah.
Let's come up with our 5 most intimidating people that we would not want to fight in the NBA.
we can make that story about DeMarcus Cousins. We can talk about that again because I'm sure
we can rehash that because
I'm sure you were a little scared there. I would have been terrified if DeMarcus was like, "Hey, bro, what's up?" I'd be like,
I tried to kind of squirm out of there, but it didn't work. Yeah, no. I mean, he was going to come.
And Jeff, you're decently tall, right? How tall are you?
I'm 6'3", but like
I'm 5'6". I'm not doing anything against DeMarcus. DeMarcus is like eating me for a snack after the game. Jeez,
it's the same thing. It's funny. I did an interview the other day with Tom Izzo, and it was like a on camera type deal, and I looked and I'm like, I tower over Tom Izzo. I don't know how tall Tom Izzo is, but I tower over him, and I'm like, that's happened to me a few times on camera when I've done like, halftime interviews or stuff like that. The last one was David Padgett. You know who David Padgett is?
The name sounds familiar.
He was the Louisville interim. He was the Louisville interim, right. And he played for Louisville. He's like 6'10", 6'11", and I looked like a midget. My wife laughed when she saw it on air because you just don't. I mean, usually I'm like not significantly, and a lot of times I'm taller than the people I interview because a lot of them are coaches.
Right.
So
anyway. It's like you should have saw me interviewing Fab Melo in the locker room at Syracuse. It was a riot. I'm like basically looking up, like straight up in the air, like looking at him vertically. He's 7 feet.
Taco Fall. He's like 7'5".
Oh, me? Yeah, no. He's again. That's another guy that make me feel outrageously small. Fab made me feel really, really tiny. Rick Jackson made me feel really tiny because Rick was big.
Yeah.
He was 6'9", but he was built. He was just jacked.
Yeah, he was.
He was fat when he got to Syracuse, but by the time he became a senior, he'd lost enough weight to where he had a lot of mobility. But he was still, even then, was still pretty big. And these guys I used to look at these guys and be like, okay, yeah, no, I can see why I'm not a D1 athlete. You guys are D1 athletes, no question.
All right, well, let's wrap this up as the NBA starts tonight, finally. And we've gone through kind of our hot button topics today. And thanks for joining us for another edition of Good and Plenty. We'll be back next week, every Tuesday with the NBA podcast, every Thursday with the College Hoops one. So be sure to subscribe, iTunes, Stitcher, CLNS Media. You can find me again at Goodman Hoops on Twitter. You can find me at watchstadium.com. And thanks to Evan for jumping in and making this entertaining, even though I disagree with several of your
everything.
Of your takes. Not everything. Just you actually convinced me on Utah.
Yeah.
You did.
All right. I'll take that.
I'm not easily persuadable, but you definitely convinced me on Utah, and again, we'll come with our top 5 most intimidating, the guys that we would not want to go up against or see in a dark alley or fight. And the Morris twins are both eligible, and I think we'll probably
they're going to go.
We'll each really have both of them. Yeah, I think they'll be high in the draft pool. So today's show again brought to you by LinkedIn. Thanks to LinkedIn for sponsoring us for the show today, and we will see you next week.